welcome guys. Today's project, we're doing the Revell Star Wars Millennium Falcon. This is the 1/72nd scale. I did the 1/64th scale recently, and basically just did a repaint on it, showed you how you could have a budget Millennium Falcon. This is still pretty much a budget Falcon. You can get this kit for between $50 and $60. It comes with about 85 pieces, but the thing is, I think we'll try to do a lot more than we did on the smaller one. This one, of course, is a lot bigger, and you know, it's the same size as the Bandai's, or supposedly the same size as Bandai's Perfect Grade. Now, obviously, it's not going to have as much detail and complexity as that model, but it doesn't cost $300 either. You got $50. We're going to put a little bit of money into repainting it, and I would like to light it and do different things with it. I'm not sure on all the details of what I want to do with it right now, but I'm excited about this project. It's going to be a nice size Falcon, and just like with the smaller one I did, I think once we repaint it, it's going to look really nice. It has a lot of crisp detail into it, and we can probably, if we want to, we could add some more. I'm not going to worry about adding a lot of surface detail. The only thing is the guns that come with it are a little sketchy, so I know Shapeways makes some replacement guns. I don't know if they're for this model, but we may look into getting that. But for now, we're going to see how we can take this budget $50 model and make it look really nice, you know, without having to spend $300. We can put a little money into paints and lights and still come way under $100, probably under $75 for the total project, and have something nice looking. So there we are, and let's just get started with it. Alright, so we're diving into the project, and first thing we're addressing is the engine lighting. I've taken the piece that they sent with it, it was painted blue on one side, the back side of it. I've sanded that blue off and repainted it white. That's going to be the very back where you see. The white will help diffuse it, and it's going to be a little bit brighter. Plus I want it to be more of the white light like you actually see in the movies. And how we're going to light it is we're going to take 2 of these LED light strips, and we're going to attach them to this back piece. There's a solid back piece here with a gap of probably a little over 1/4 inch. And I'll go in here and we'll put 2 sets on there. So we'll get a lot of lights going on in there. You will be able to make out the individual lights somewhat in here. But the other option was going to have to be removing these pegs and this whole section and building a whole box. And then we're going to jeopardize some of the integrity when we put it together. These peg holes are going to help hold the pieces together, and I was afraid that if I cut this section out, I just don't know what I'd have coming together. So I'm going to sacrifice a little detail, a little accuracy, have something solid that I'm going to be able to mount these lights to, and we'll still have a really nice effect. So there's where we're going with that. Just going to show you this, what we're looking at here. And then we'll light this up nice and bright. Now on the camera it's showing pretty solid, but off camera the lights are a lot more individual. But we'll have 2 rows of those behind that, and we'll get a nice light effect on the back of the engine. So I think it'll look good, and it'll be a lot simpler than trying to cut this apart and then jeopardizing the structure of the back of the ship. Okay, so we're still working on figuring out how we're going to do the lighting. For the front of the ship, we have these pieces that go up in the very front here, and where you see that in movies, that's a lit part, kind of like some driving lights or whatever. What I've done is cut out the connecting point from it and then drilled out a 3mm hole through the center of it. As you can see on this one, I've taken a piece of clear sprue from another model that's just a good size diameter, and it's going to fit inside that hole. I have a 3mm white light. This is just an aluminum tubing I had. This will go inside here, and it'll kind of act as like a large fiber optic. It'll give us a nice bright light, but not overpowering, but just enough to where we'll have that nice effect. So there's where we're at with that. Okay guys, we're trying to emulate the battle damage on the side of the Millennium Falcon here. I've researched pictures and I see stuff kind of all over the place. Generally speaking, I see about 5 main battle marks. We have kind of 3 on this panel right here. Looks like we have 1 on this panel right here that's slightly lower than the other one, then a small hit mark right above that. Now on this model they have some painted on dots, but there's one way over here and it just doesn't seem right as to all the stuff I've looked at. So I've marked out some other places, and then I've drilled in some holes to indicate the marks. What I'm going to do, as you can see on this one already, is I'm taking my soldering iron and going in and this, instead of just having a clean drill through mark, I'm taking the soldering iron and just melting the plastic a little bit through there. And all I'm doing is just kind of going in there just a little bit, so we get more of a, you know, a melted weight look instead of just a clean drilled hole. So, and then we can touch it up as much as we want and make it look however we want. So I'm going to do that and melt through these just a little bit, and then the plan is to come behind it, and this is this piece of extra styrene plastic, and we're going to put that over. Sorry, I had a hard time getting on the camera. Here we go. Just put this over the back of it, and then when we paint it, it'll look like it's kind of gone through the main armor plating and it's into maybe the substructure, so we're just not looking at a hole. And then we'll take our soldering iron and possibly poke it in through there to put some damage on the styrene that's below. So that's the effect we're going for, and just keep going. Okay, so we put a primer coat over the top section, and just taking a look at the battle damage. I think it turned out pretty well. Of course, when we go to paint it, we're going to darken all that in and make it look all nice and scored up. And so there's the top section. We've done a little painting on the cockpit here. There's still a little bit more work to do. I don't think I'm going to do any type of fiber optics or anything. What I'm planning on doing is just putting in a small SMD light above, so it'll just light the whole cockpit. No figures came with this, so it'll be an empty cockpit, but we are going to have the model in a landing formation with the landing gear down, so it won't be quite as vital to have figures in there. So there's the work on that. Assembled all the different landing gear. They're going to be painted separately, so I can go back in and do the stainless steel or silver parts, and then we'll weather those separately. We've assembled the bottom section pretty much. We've added in the doors to the landing gear, and those are then glued in place. And right here we have the door to the ship, and it goes up and down. And what I've done is this kind of, it's not pretty from this side, but from the inside I've just scratch built where when you look in, you're not looking straight through into like a hollow model to see all the wires and stuff. You kind of get the effect of a hallway going up, and also there will be a small LED coming down here, so it'll be lit, and this door will be lit right here. I've also drilled out holes in the middle of the different landing sections, and so we'll have some 3mm LEDs, and so we'll have light to all the landing gear. I'm getting ready to prime this. We've added in most of the side structure and glued it in. We've added a little bit more detail. Still working on this. This was just a very plain backing here, and I've added in some styrene and some different things to give a little bit more detail. But these are all glued in. Of course, we have those put in. The reason this is taped off is I'm going to be connecting my lighting strips to that, and I want it to connect to the bare plastic and not to a painted surface. So there we are with the section. I'm about ready to prime this for now, and just go. Alright, so for the engine grill here, we obviously need to get some detail. It's just very plain. So what I have in mind is I'm going to take some strip styrene, and this is just some square styrene, and I've already cut it 3 sections to size here, and I'm going to wrap it around, and it'll be put on the outside, and then I'll take some more strips and I'll line them up and make a grid pattern. Now my lighting LEDs, my strip LEDs, I have 2 of these, and each one has 12 lights on them, and they're separated by about a ½ inch between each one. So what I'm going to try to do is get one grid between each one. So I'm going to try to figure out, it's pretty even. I should be able to figure that out, but that's the plan on that. And one thing that's helpful is if you have something like this chopper. In this case, I can figure out the size of the piece I need for the back of the grill, and then I can set a plate in here and lock it in, and then all I have to do is just keep going, and that way I get nice consistent cuts on it. So that's where I'm going, and that's what the plan is for that. Painting the cockpit, obviously I don't want to paint over the windshield here. The clear piece it's actually one clear piece which they've painted over. I want to change the painting, obviously. You can see where I've added in some liquid latex. Now this particular liquid latex is this for kind of a painting latex called Incredible White Mask Liquid Frisket. I believe Humbrol and some other modeling products are the same thing, but basically all it is a liquid that you can put on. You can see where it seals over. In this case it's sealing over clear. You just want to give it plenty of time to dry, and then when I paint, I can paint all over this, and then I can pick out the parts of it, and should be keep that from getting painted on. And how I apply it is just put a little bit on a toothpick. This little section right here is not done, and I just spread it around. Just very carefully with a toothpick. If you kind of go over, you can quickly ripen it off. You have a little time to work with it. But just be careful to use your toothpick and move it around. In this particular clear piece I'm working on has a little bit of an angle inside of the clear piece, so it's a little tricky on that. But it's not terribly hard to work with. It's not the easiest thing trying to get it on camera, holding it away from me. But there you go. And now I'll just give it time to clear up like those. The plan is I'll attach this to I'm going to prime over it and attach this, and I'm going to do all the painting all at one time with the model assembled. But that's the plan, and hopefully this will turn out well. Alright, so we're working on the painting here, and as you see I've now added some low lights to the upper section of the model, and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to go over with some white paint and do the highlights of it. Here we are, we've added in some highlights. Just by taking some white paint and airbrushing it into the panels, and then just trying to leave the panel lines in different recessed areas with the dark color. So now we're ready to start applying our top coat. Alright, so now we've put in our first top coat, and what I'm using here is Mission Models product, and this is light gold gray. And what I was going for was the kind of off-white gray with just a tad bit of kind of maybe a yellowish or light brown color to have that worn look. So you can see where the low lights and the highlights, the pre-shading already gives a pretty nice effect. So overall I'm pretty pleased with this first coat, but there's a lot to go, so we'll just keep moving forward. I've applied the top coat to the bottom section of the Falcon, and I've also, what I've gone in is just with some Krylon's matte finish clear coat. I went over the top and bottom and the other parts that I painted just so I have a protective coat over this paint. We're going to be doing a lot to this model, weathering, chipping, stuff, all kinds of stuff. So I put that on there just to give a little bit of protective on there. I've also now attached the grill to the back of the engines, and that's I have some cleanup to do. I attached it just using super glue, but some of the super glue is leaked out, and I'm going to get some I think nail polish removal will remove those, and I'm going to clean that up a little bit. I've went over the canopy. Of course it has the liquid latex that's dried in there, so hopefully when I pull that off we'll still have our clear glass, and that'll look good, so I'm a little nervous about that. But everything else is coming along. Just working on little details right now.